Stands Up with me, your host, Michael McIntyre! Tonight we have another edition involving the cream of the UK's comedy circuit. The best of the business will be here entertaining you tonight! So we're coming live from Greenwich. Who's from Greenwich? A few people, many people from other places. Where have people come from? Furthest place? I mean, I can only imagine you meant to say a word. And that must be the largest failure of any word attempt I've ever... Fancy typing that into sat-nav. So where are you from? Blah, 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 blah. I don't know. I don't think the Tom 1 couldn't cope with that. So anybody outside of blah, 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 blah? Have you come up with where you're from yet? Give it one more go.
Streatham.
You said it so well that time that I can only assume that it's a pre-existing thing that you keep getting it wrong, that you've actually, someone's recorded it for you and you just didn't have access to it quickly. You're sitting there with your hand over play going, ask me again, where are you from? Streatham. Well done. Okay, well done. Good. Second time round. You got that very well. Very good. Okay. Can I just ask what you do for a living?
I'm a voiceover artist.
Are you getting much work? Unbelievable. What have you done anything that we would know?
I'm one of the voiceovers for Heart Network.
Heart Network. So some kind of singles club. Okay, good. I don't know what that is, but anyway, good. What do you say? Things like "keep on pounding." What do you do? Is that you? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to bring on our first guest of the evening. Listen, I've known this girl for actually ages. She gets better and better and better. She's gorgeous. She's childbearing, and you're going to absolutely love her. Please give all your love for the wonderful talents of Shappi Khorsandi, ladies and gentlemen.
Gorgeous and childbearing. Thank you very much. 11 weeks ago, I gave birth. Thank you very much. Yes. Applause for my ineptitude at sorting out contraceptives. But babies are great. Like a lot of people, I got to my 30s and I thought, I've got to have a baby now, while my mum's still young enough to look after it for me. But having a baby, it's changed me. I used to have come-to-bed eyes. Now I've got go-to-bed eyes. He's very cute. My son's very cute. He's cute with other people. He's just got to that age where he giggles and smiles and you think he's going to cry, but he giggles and he's got these big eyes. And, I'm 11 weeks old. I'm so cute. Then I go to cuddle him, his mummy, and he changes. He's like, did I say I want milk, bitch? When I want milk, I ask for it, yeah? Don't be coming over here. Right, I'm hungry, give me milk, come on, give me milk. And I feed him, and he's like, you've cut this up with SMA, man. But I'm good with kids. I have a 7-year-old nephew, and he said to me, Shappi, can we play Harry Potter? I said, of course we can, my darling. And I locked him in the cupboard under the stairs for the whole summer. I'm from Iran originally, and my husband is English, so lots of cultural differences between me and my husband. That's obvious, isn't it? Because I am Iranian and he's working class. Very, very milky tea. His family are from Nottingham, and they're lovely. His grandparents are always saying things to me like, "Oh, Shappi's so exotic. She's so exotic," which means foreign, but not in a way that we hate. My parents weren't religious, but I did go to a Christian school, but this was the 1970s, so it wasn't called a Christian school, it was just called, school. And I always wanted to play an angel in the nativity plays, but as my teachers explained to me, no, Shappi, little blonde girls are angels, little brown girls are the whores of Babylon. 4 years in a row I was a shepherd. I couldn't be a wise man. They gave the wise man job to the slightly remedial kids to boost their self-confidence, I had a bit bizarrely, I had quite a lot of Christianity in my life. I went to Brownies as well, which is, of course, a Christian organisation, but to be fair, my parents thought it was an after-school club for Asian kids. You know what I love about new immigrants that come to this fair country of ours? It makes British people get much more creative in our racism. Isn't it wonderful? Isn't it? Because Polish people are white. What should we do? What should we do? I actually heard someone say, bloody Poles coming over here with their work ethic. Doesn't that warm your heart? So my primary school was quite twee, and that's why I learnt to speak English, because I wasn't born here, and I learnt to speak it when I read Enid Blyton books, and I loved that. That was my idea of Britishness. And I wanted to live in Enid Blyton land, and I used to skip home from school and say to my mum, Mummy, do let's go on a picnic. We've got plenty of juicy plums and lashings of ginger beer. Oh no, there's a strange gypsy at the door selling his wares. Shut up, but it's Uncle Hassan. Did you like that? I just said Uncle Hassan. That, by the way, is not an Iranian accent. This is just a generic foreign accent I do because I'm trying to get work on Radio 4 drama. I love Radio 4 drama, especially when it's set in the Middle East. It's always very serious, and the title's always something like, ladies and gentlemen, now go over to our afternoon play, The Milkmaid of Kabul. And the signature tune is always the same. It's like this. Hey! Fatima, get the goat! I tell you, I want to end on telling you a funny thing that happened to me recently, which is kind of handy for my job. Lenny Henry did this programme called Lenny's Britain, right, where he went around spending time with people from other cultures, and he came to interview my mum and dad in their house about being Iranian. It was fabulous, and I've never taken acid before in my life. But seeing Lenny Henry in my parental home was the closest I've ever come to tripping, right? And he came in and he spoke to my parents, what's it like being Iranian? He didn't do that, I wish he had, it would have been great. And my parents said, well, you know, being Iranian is like this, that, and the other. Everything was perfect until my mum called him Ainsley. I've been Shappi Khorsandi, thank you so much.
Shappi Khorsandi, ladies and gentlemen. So, Streatham, that's as far away as we've got so far. So how are you, Streatham?
Amazingly well, thank you.
Amazingly well. Yes. Do you want to talk us through what went wrong in the first half? Well, it sounds like you've had the most fast course in elocution lessons I've ever heard in my life. You've gone from nothing to Mary Poppins. Listen, we'd all like to move on from Streatham, but house prices... Which isn't our fault, by the way, in London. In fact, across the whole nation, the house price has gone absolutely insane. And it drives me crazy. Because people are doing nothing and making money just by living in their homes. I hate these people. People who say things like, I bought the house in 1961 for 7p. And now it's worth 9 million! It makes me angry. Northern Rock had a fiasco with their mortgages. People were so worried about, I've got my mortgage with Northern Rock. The whole point is that that's good, isn't it good? If you lose your mortgage? There were people in the queue going, I've got my mortgage in there. It's like, well, good, go home, change the locks, enjoy yourself. What are you talking about? They've got all my money. No, they don't. I didn't even know the banks borrowed money. I thought that, call me naive, but I thought that I thought the rich people in the bank, when you got a loan, they were lending the money to the poor people, and you only had, your banking institution only had the money that their customers gave them. I didn't know that they were borrowing from other people. I didn't know that when you went for a loan, they're in the back going, is that Ocean Finance? I'd like to borrow 5,000. Yes, I am a home owner. That's my Geordie accent, by the way. It's not great. I'm sure there are Geordies listening to Radio 4 getting upset. I apologise. I just haven't picked it up. I haven't met that many. I think that's a problem. I've met one once. I met a Geordie. It was just me and him in a room. Nobody else was there. And he said, "You's looking at us." How many mistakes can you make in one sentence? A-E-I-O-U, Geordie. E-E-E-E-E, unbelievable. So yes, we can move on from Streatham. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you to the next act of the evening! Straight out of Chippenham, please welcome, it's Wil Hodgson!
You right? Right, I always find it's good to, at the top of the set, just say a word or two about who and indeed what the hell I am, just to smooth things along nicely. My name's Wil. Like Michael said, I come from the People's Republic of Chippenham, and it's fair to say I've led a varied existence. I was a professional wrestler for a brief but colourful period in the Trowbridge area. And I've been collecting Care Bears, My Little Ponies and Rainbow Bright Dolls since I was about 5 or 6 years old. Completely other different kettle of fish. I went to wrestling school in Trowbridge and I was alright. I wasn't great. I wasn't no Big Daddy or Les Kellett or Mike Marino or Kendo Nagasaki or nothing, but I showed a degree of potential. Basically, if you're 5 years old and you're a boy and you come into primary school with glowworms, glow friends, wuzzles, popples, wild snugglebums, puffalumps, She-Ra, Catra, you have to learn to fight pretty sharpish. If only to keep your collection in mint condition, and so it was. So as most of my collection, I'm not going to lie to you, most of it is actually from adulthood. Only a very small portion of it is actually from childhood. I had normal parents. That's what scuppered me in a lot of ways. If I'd have had like progressive, sort of Guardian reading, liberal, vegan sort of parents, I might have had a lot more luck getting all the My Little Pony gymkhanas that my heart desired. But as it stood, my old man was normal old man. He used to work long, hard hours in the tool room up at Westinghouse. This is back in like the 70s and the early 80s, the era when a man would proudly drink 20 pints at lunchtime and then go and operate heavy machinery. And nothing was really thought wrong about that. He used to work with a guy there's a lot of talk about people thinking they're hard these days. What are these sort of like your Danny Dyer Nuts magazine crowd? You think they're big tough guys. My dad used to work with this guy called Nobby Webb, and Nobby Webb's dead now. That's the only way that I'd ever actually stand here and make light of him on the radio. Nobby Webb was legitimately hard. He was like this big, sort of 6.5 foot tattooed, spectacled slab of frozen lamb with fists like the size of Judy Finnegan's breast. He used to stay at our house sometimes, so occasionally his wife would chuck him out. I remember one time his wife chucked him out because he broke the American pool table at the West End Working Men's Club with his head. And he was sat on our sofa wearing glasses that he'd clearly made himself. It was like 2 different lenses and like 2 different arms and like a sort of thing holding them together in the middle, like a sticking plaster. There was these 2 like massive 9-inch spikes holding the arms and the lenses together. And he sat on the sofa reading The Sun. Well, I said, Dad, what's with Nobby Webb's glasses? My dad goes, well, you see, son, Nobby Webb earlier was making himself a toasted sandwich in the way that Nobby Webb likes to, which is by getting 2 pieces of bread and a piece of cheese in his bare hand and holding it inside a blast furnace. And then going, when they're black, they're done. And he actually burnt himself a little bit. His glasses fell on the floor and they smashed. But not to worry, because Nobby Webb went in the office, looked through the drawers in there. There was all kinds of little bits and pieces of junk, and there was other people's broken glasses. So he got enough components together to make a pair of glasses, hammered them together with those 9-inch spikes, and eventually, son, Nobby Webb's eyes will adjust to the prescription that he's made himself if he just sits there reading The Sun like that. If I was you, I wouldn't mention it to him for fear of your life. So when my dad used to come home from days with Nobby Webb, I figured the last thing he wanted to hear at that point in the day was that his only son wanted a My Little Pony primping parlour for Christmas. I'm always kind of wary about being too pop culture-y with me set because, you know, it can go both ways. It can either be some people can't get the references because of, like, age gaps and that, but pop culture can be a very good thing because it can really illustrate an era that you're talking about. It's like I was chatting in the pub to some people about what we thought the darkest album ever recorded was. And there's one guy was making a very good case for Closer, the last Joy Division album. Another guy said it was actually the first Joy Division album. But for me, it's always going to be Now That's What I Call Music, volumes 24 through to 27, which are basically compilations of every hit single when I was at secondary school, the most dark, bone-chilling, blood-curdling existence of me life. When I hear songs like Would I Lie to You by Charles and Eddie, I can just feel like boots in my kidneys. So it's like, time to get up now, Will, and get beaten up by girls, would you believe? But you can go too far, and that's what leads to these list shows you get that are like, sometimes show very good archive footage that I'm glad to see, but have usually got someone talking all over them, and they're called things like the 100 greatest this of the 80s, 100 most irritating that of the 80s. I don't really care for them that much, but I come in from the pub one night, and I was flicking around looking for something to watch. This thing comes on, it's about 10 minutes away from finishing. It's in the advert break, and it says the 150 worst moments of the 80s, and I thought, it's about time. Because through the rose-tinted spectacles of pop culture, people think of the 80s, this sort of like jovial decade where everyone just slid around on their knees drinking roller cola at weddings and bouncing on space hoppers, assembling Rubik's Cubes, and it wasn't like that if you were a print worker. It wasn't like that if you was on the Belgrano or the HMS Sheffield. It was a different decade for different people. It was a nice decade for neuromanticism for some people, horrible decade for others. One kind of decade for Simon Le Bon, whole other kettle of fish for Simon Weston, let me tell you. And I started thinking, what could the worst moment of a turbulent decade like the 80s be? And I started thinking of all kinds of like sort of disasters and wars and industrial disputes. I thought maybe the miners' strike, maybe just in general Thatcher's industrial policy, where Thatcher destroyed the working class, and then by the very definition of that, the entire spirit of Great Britain. I thought maybe something like that would be the worst moment of the 1980s. Turned out it was leg warmers. So there you go, if you're a coal miner and you're sat there in despair as your son's injecting himself with heroin and thinking it really didn't ought to have been like this, just you think yourself lucky you never wore any ludicrous fluorescent clothing. Unlike Timmy Mallet, who, get this, was number 2, which I suppose makes him the worst person of the 1980s, which I would imagine came as immense relief to Peter Sutcliffe if he was watching that. He was thinking, like, I thought that'd be me, I killed 14 women, I did. Well, at least I didn't wear Bermuda shorts, I suppose. You've been fantastic, thank you, cheers. Wil Hodgson!
He was from Chippenham. I love the accent. Don't you? Do you?
You're just so posh, aren't you?
I am.
You are so posh.
Well, I don't know. Look who's talking. You're just so posh, aren't you? Yes, how can I defend that? I am. And it's good. It helps me in life. But if truth be told, I'm only posh like this because my dad is from Canada and my mum is from Hungary, so they're not posh people. But my dad had a little bit of money at a certain point when I was due to be educated. So he sent me to this posh school, and when you're at school with people going, hello, how are you? Do sit here, you have no choice but to go, marvellous, I shall. So you end up... so I ended up becoming this person because of that. And my dad didn't like it at all. He was like, what's happened to him? I've sent him to this school and listen to him. He sounds like a putz. And he would come home and he'd go, what has happened to you? You sound like all the people that annoy me the most. What's going on with you, Michael? And I'd be like, Father, don't speak to me in such a tone. So he then actually took me out of the school, but it was too late. I was already this person. So I went to the local school, which was unbelievable. I've never seen so many people. First of all, when I went to the interview, I went with my mum and my little brother, who was in his buggy at that point, and I made a joke to the headmaster. I said, I hope you don't mind that I brought my wife and child along. and he went with a completely straight face, went, a lot of our students have children. I thought, oh, in fact, Amy in 3G has just been made a grandmother. What have I got myself into? That was really awful. I didn't make many friends. Because I was used to this world where you call all the teachers sir. So on the first day, the teacher walked in my first class, and naturally, of course, I stood up. I was standing up. And everyone else was just sort of lying around smoking. And I was going, and they were going, what are you doing? Oh, Sir's here! Sir's just walked in! Sir's here! Sir's here! Sir's here! teacher is going, who's here? What's happened? So I'm not here to deny that I sound posh. Ladies and gentlemen, he hails from Wales and he is one of my favourite comedians. He's indeed the voice of Wales. It doesn't get much better than this, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome to the stage, Rhod Gilbert!
Hello. Hello. It is very nice to be here. Hello, I'm Rhod. Hello. I do hail from Wales. You're from Wales? Did you grow up in Wales? It is tough growing up in Wales. How old were you when you realised you could take a cagoule off? Yeah. I had a hard time growing up in Wales. I know why you're staying quiet. I had a hard time growing up. Anybody else here from a single parent family? My parents divorced when I was quite young and split up and separated. My mother ran off with the milkman, if you want the truth. No, that wasn't a funny bit. That wasn't supposed to get a laugh, that was... No, she ran off with the milkman. That was my life ruined. You don't quite understand this, I don't think. This isn't funny. He just turned up with his milk float one day and off they went, and... I had to watch him go. It was the worst 3 hours of my life. Not funny. Stopped at every house on our street, I'll have you know. I drove up from Wales to be here today. You get to do too much travelling in this job. I'm a bit tired tonight. I don't know if you can tell. You do too much travelling. I've been all over the place recently. Johannesburg and Afghanistan. Australia. Has anybody done that trip to Australia? I left my house at 12:30 on a Monday. I got to Melbourne Wednesday tea time. Are you listening? I left my house at 12:30 on a Monday. In good faith. I got to Australia Wednesday afternoon. What the hell happened to Tuesday? I had stuff to do. Then I left Melbourne. My flight left at 6:30 on a Monday morning. It took exactly 24 hours. I counted them, and I got back Monday night. Went straight to bed. I woke up Wednesday again. What the hell happened to Tuesday again? Did you have a problem with Tuesdays? Jet lagged, I'm tired, and do you do stupid things when you're tired? I'm forever, you know, when your brain's not in gear, is it? You know, yesterday I mucked up again. I was tired from the jet lag, you know, getting back in April from Australia, and I was tired anyway, and then I mucked up yesterday. I've got 2 shower gels, right? Oh, I'm very sorry if that's a bit boring for you here in London, is it? That passes a damn good conversation opener, that, in Wales, isn't it? I've wowed dinner parties with that. They're both good shower gels. I was tired, and one of them's all yellow and zesty for the morning. You know, it's called Invigorate. The other one's dark blue. It's called Relax, you see. You don't want to get those two mixed up, do you? It's a mistake you don't make twice, I tell you that. Yesterday was a write-off for me. I was... groggy all day, I couldn't get my eyes open, you know. Then you go to bed and your mind's racing, isn't it? You can't get to sleep. I shouldn't complain about all the travel, you know. I've always wanted to travel, but it's too much. It's too much driving down here tonight. I've got to drive back to Cardiff, and it's always driving on your own in the car, you know. We've only got the radio for company, and then they do these things, don't they, on the radio? What are they? They're not adverts, or are they infomercials? You know the ones I mean? When you're driving along and you're tired and it's late, and I was driving back to Cardiff after a gig the other night, 1:30 in the morning, and the radio came on. Have you heard? They said, fall asleep at the wheel. And you could travel further than you think. I know, in just 3 seconds, a car travelling on the motorway could travel up to 1/8 of a mile, right? It was 1:30 in the morning when I heard that, right? I had 110 miles to go. So I'd done a few calculations, right? I set my alarm for 3, you see. I must have slept through it. I woke up driving through Northern Ireland the next morning. I shouldn't complain. I always wanted to travel. When I was a kid, I wanted to join the Navy. That's what I wanted to do, you know, and to see the world, escape from Wales. Go somewhere drier. So I'd start with the sea. Do you know what put me off, Joy, is everybody's doing these same adverts, aren't they? They're very confrontational, the adverts these days. Everyone's doing them, aren't they? The army, the navy, even the police are doing them. They're always challenging you, aren't they? Be the best. Could you do this? Could you do that? Put yourself in this horrible situation. Do you know, there was one for the Navy that put me off. It was on the radio. Do you remember? It started off, it said, can you... It was very confrontational. Very challenging. It said, can you fry an egg? I remember the first time I ever heard that advert, and I thought, no. No, I can't. Maybe the Navy's not for me. And they said, could you fry an egg on a boat? I thought, no. And they said, could you fry an egg on a boat in a storm? I thought, no. I thought, to be honest, you're not making this any easier. In some ways, it's getting more difficult to fry this egg of yours, isn't it? But maybe you're talking to the wrong person altogether. Maybe you're looking for somebody who said yes to the first question. I don't know. And he went mad. Do you remember, could you fry 200 eggs for 200 hungry sailors on a boat in a storm while you're being bombed by the enemy? I thought, no! You still can't fry your egg, mate. You still can't do it. So I could probably do scrambled eggs. Well, let's face it, they practically made themselves by this point, haven't they? Was anybody going to mind? Would you lot mind if I brought out scrambled eggs instead of fried eggs in that situation? It's only a small change to the menu, isn't it? It's not a big deal. There's a battle going on out there, remember? Come to think of it, maybe this isn't the best time to be thinking about dinner at all. Maybe a few of us should go and fend off the enemy first. If there's any survivors, we can get a takeaway later, can't we, if it's that important? You've been absolutely lovely. Thank you very much for having me, Radio 4, Rhod Gilbert.
You've been listening to 4 Stands Up. We have Shappi Khorsandi, Wil Hodgson, Rhod Gilbert. I was your host, Michael McIntyre. Producer was Talusha Galani.